Welcome to Space
Erased,
the NASA Fraudcast. I'm your host, Chris.
and I'm Matt.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. We've only shot one episode,
Yeah, I was gonna
but we're
say.
glad to be back. I can tell you that for sure.
Absolutely. Ready for another exciting episode. I guess the first episode now, right?
Yeah, this would be the official
Outside of the
first
pilots.
episode. Excellent. Well, today I'm excited to show you a few things here, bud.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you got.
We're going to be talking about the International Waste Station today, the ISS, and how it could all be possibly a fraud perpetrated on the American people and a big waste of taxpayer dollars. That's the theory, anyways. So, what do you know about the International Space Station, buddy?
Well, I know it was a project that was being supported by several countries, but NASA was the main parent company for the whole deal. But it was supposed to be a bunch of different modules connected together in space to make like a space laboratory type setup where they could do experiments. Outside of that, I don't know what the budgets are or anything else really about it other than, you know, it's in near Earth orbit, so it's not like a million miles out in space. That's about all I got.
Well, as far as budget, I actually have that number for you. We have spent, invested, and or wasted $150 billion.
Wow, that's actually a lot more expensive than I expected. $150 billion.
Yes.
How much money is that?
$150 billion is 1,000 times, what did the guy say? Somebody broke it down. I think it was Jeranism again did that in a video. What's that, 1,000 times 150 million or something like that? Like most people never make 10 million in their life or something like that, and then
It's
you like
billions of
multiply
times
that
more than
times
that.
or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
There are way too many billions.
So, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
But what's the main meat and potatoes here? Why are people saying that this is not a true space station out there?
Well, they're saying that, I mean, like, the theories that are going around as an overview or whatever are that, like, your astronauts that most people are familiar with, your Chris Hadfields and your, I don't know, I can't remember any of the rest of their names. We can look them up, too, if we want to be all, like, science-y and stuff.
Science.
Like, Chris Hadfield and all these people are supposed to be actors, apparently, and the shots of the International Space Station are supposed to be, like, composites of a lot of different things to put together one image to make you think that, you know, you're on the International Space Station. A lot of these, you know, it's alleged that any standing shot of somebody standing there, like showing you some bubbles of water or something like that floating around, most of the time those people are supposedly hanging from wires, and they're in front of a static background, an image that was like a picture somebody took. They just put it up as the green screen background, and then they just have somebody fake floating in front of there. Or they use ZeroG airplanes, you know, like the Vomit Comet, to simulate the look of the inside of the International Space Station, which I think is kind of cool. Another gentleman had the theory that that the camera shots of when a guy is like filming and going through the space station, like floating through there, is like a scuba diver in a fully submerged underwater version of the International Space Station, which I thought was cool as hell. And you can tell, like, kind of some of the camera angles when they're going through there, it almost looks like a guy with flippers kind of swimming around, you know?
Yeah, I suppose. You know, and for the people like Chris Hadfield, for example, like in this picture here, he's somehow floating around inside this, you know, space station. So, you know, how would he be doing that if he was, you know, on Earth? Would this be a Vomit Comet situation where he would temporarily be flying and then they'd make a camera cut to something else while the plane
That's something I learned
recorrected
recently,
itself,
too.
or what?
That's why I was like, oh, that whole theory is bullshit, because every time they go up and down in that parabola, they, you know, like the guys all smack the ground and they all, you know, it looks, you know, aggressive, and it doesn't look like all smooth like you're out in space or whatever. But watch it. Next time you get a chance to look at a ZeroG video, in fact, if you could pull one up on YouTube and play it in the background, that would be super awesome of you. There are always like some kind of instructor or something like that helping the people out on the ZeroG planes or whatever. And those guys just stand there totally comfortable the whole time. They grab a railing with their hands and they secure their feet on the ground. And they just help people, you know, when they float up and they do their spins and stuff like that, and they laugh and whatever, and then they fall back down. But the instructors look totally fine the whole time. So I think the actors are are using that same strategy to kind of hold themselves when they are weightless. Then they do their little tricks, and then they kind of like balance themselves and hold themselves on a heyo.
By the way, I got Kate Upton doing the ZeroG.
Yeah, I just watched that last night. Hilarious.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I was gonna say this is going to skyrocket the YouTube views.
Yeah, no kidding. That should get some views.
But,
it's I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh no! This is just basically from what I understand, the opposition or the argument of opposition is that if they're not in space, they're all in the vomit comet, and every 30 seconds or whenever the cycle's done, they flip the camera to something else while the plane's taking back off, and then while it starts to descend again, it goes back to the astronauts floating around.
Yep.
But that's a. So what do? They just design different pods inside of this ZeroG thing and just like plug them in so the astronauts look like they're in different spaces all the time, or how does that even work?
A guy said, "How does it feel to live on the International Space Station?" He asked Chris Hadfield and others, like, "Ask an astronaut things or whatever." I don't know. I'm gonna be coming at this like all this crap's bullshit, but you can you can go ahead and be the believer side of it. Again, the program here, we're trying to be respectful to the people that are researching, but we don't necessarily have to be respectful to like the NASA guys and all that stuff. But if you're commenting, if you're trying to take part in this in any way, just please be respectful. YouTube comments have a tendency of getting pretty brutal pretty quick, and we just don't care. We're not even going to humor that kind of stuff if people are going to act and talk like that. One thing I will point out in this video, though, is watch Kate Upton's hair. This is how a woman's hair is supposed to react in space. One of the big dead giveaways that there's something fishy going on is that these ISS women look like they have...
oh, that's right. Yeah,
the permed
the
hair.
thing.
They like
I
put
remember
product
about
in their hair and like a permanent goofy. And then when they move it, like it's static. It kind of goes back in place. Her hair is all wavy and
it's almost like it's in water or something like that. Yeah, so
exactly.
It's something that's constantly changing versus like a static, wig that's been hyper permed out.
So I'm no like professional movie director or anything.
Get rid of that.
I'm no professional movie director or anything, but
really quick.
I am okay. For Christ's sake, let me get on to the point here. I've done a little bit of this stuff. I'm putting this show together, and I do know a little bit about camera shots. And so what I've ascertained from watching the video of the International Space Station is that you've got a couple of different shots that are going on to make one experience. Right? You've got still shots and shot in front of blue screens, where it's going to be somebody suspended on cables or in the vomit comet in front of a blue screen, or maybe they built a fake set inside a vomit comet. There's moving interior shots, which again could be the vomit comet. And there's cuts. They always cut when they go into a new segment of the ISS for some reason. Not in all the videos, but in most of them. I should say a lot of them. We'll get crucified here if we're not being specific. I think, and then the other thing is I think there's a combination of the top 2 points that I just made of moving interior shots and static shots. I think the outside spacewalks, there's pretty good theories out there that all that stuff's going on in swimming pools, and the proof there is that every once in a while you can see a little bubble float up out of their helmets. Those are the same bubbles.
Space bubbles.
Matt and I used to research UFOs and stuff like that. That's how we kind of got interested in this, and now I'm a firm believer that UFOs are complete bullshit. I think UFOs are a hoax. They're being subliminally kind of put into the media and things like that, and they're like trying to fight it to look like, oh no, we don't have anything to do with it. And I think they're doing that to continue to perpetuate the idea that UFOs exist. We'll get into that later. There's a theory that like the New World Order is going to come about because they're going to fake a big massive alien attack or some crap like that, and that'll unify all the people into becoming a one world government. That's a topic for later.
I was going to say, yeah, you can't even really touch the can of worms right now because I'll go off for the entire rest of the episode about it, but I disagree with you to a certain extent on that.
Perfect.
But yeah, you can't just bring up something like that right in the middle of a different topic.
Right. Okay. We'll come back to that on a different show.
Let's do that on the next
that
episode. That'll be the next episode for sure.
I think like food for thought wise, that's one of the most crazy concepts that I love thinking about. All right, so back to the camera angles here. The outside spacewalks, they have a giant 40-foot deep pool, and I watched a guy who was just like a commentator. He got a chance to tour the thing and swim through there. They have a full mock-up of the ISS underneath there, and that's their training area to go work on, being in the suits, working with neutral buoyancy, practicing, the low dexterity kind of work that they do. Because astronauts are supposed to have the dexterity of like a toddler or something like that with the pressure in their suits, keeping their fingers kind of rigid and all that. which is kind of interesting. Anyways, they'll use a green screen or something like that, or they'll just key out the pool background to put in the Earth and all that kind of stuff. Then they always have a CGI Earth. I don't know. I made some notes here that I can't understand. That always helps. Some people are like, oh, well, I know the ISS is real because I've seen it with a telescope. And it's like, okay, just because you can see something with a telescope doesn't necessarily mean it is what they're saying it is. Maybe there's a satellite that looks like the ISS. I don't know. But the videos I've always seen of it on
maybe there are no satellites.
Maybe
nothing's been up that high. So how are we getting dish TV?
Interestingly enough, well, that doesn't shortwave frequencies and radio and stuff like that can travel like bajillions of miles. So you don't necessarily need satellites to make TV work and all that stuff.
Yeah, you could use clouds, I suppose.
Well, the most of the proponents of these theories think that there are no like we've never left the orbit or never left the planet. Like we just shoot rockets up and then they just blow up someplace.
That's just so pessimistic, man. I just can't believe that everybody's spending all this money to launch like missiles at nothing.
Jaron has made a fantastic point in one of his videos I was watching last night. He goes, I had a guy in my comments section flipping out at me. He goes, oh, I know that the moon landing was real because my dad worked on the lunar module or whatever. And he goes, okay, if I said I drove to Hawaii in my car, you'd say you're full of shit. And then if I said, no, but my dad worked at the Volvo factory, does that help prove the concept anymore?
That's
I don't
pretty
think
good.
So.
I like that a lot.
I don't know. So that's, I thought he's brilliant with dealing with the aggressive commenters. I think our thing here is we're just not even going to humor these people. If they're going to be negative, they're not here to help further the cause. They don't want to do anything but rip on the ideas, so they can go screw themselves. Now I'm bringing aggro into it. Nah, you guys can go have a nice day.
I was gonna say, let's push comes to shove, you just gotta love, buddy.
That's right, we're gonna love. We do like. There's already people that have we got a great response from the first day of our video being out. I love it, and people have been really cool to us. We got some emails sent to us and some things like that. Feel free to email us, by the way, at nasafraudcast@gmail.com. Again, nasafraudcast@gmail.com. No space. We've had some great feedback from some people that really like the idea of the show, and we're just going to kind of keep building as we go, just kind of keep adding and adding. Today we've added some new camera shots. Hey, how's it going, folks? We've added the ability. We had some technical issues last night that prevented us from doing a screen capture thing, so we were unable to show the pictures and things like that we were trying to show. So now hopefully we've got that fixed. That's not a promise, but I got a good feeling about tonight, man.
I do too, buddy. It's going to be great.
Other problems with the ISS. One point that somebody brought up, I don't know, I've been watching, I watch these videos when I go to bed and stuff at night. Sometimes they help me pass out. But the unfortunate bit about it is I can't tell you who did what video, so I'll start getting better at documenting that kind of stuff. We're going to put a playlist together, too, on the YouTube channel of the best stuff. But one of the points that he brought up was the astronauts are always all giddy and smiley, and they're doing stupid stuff. This is how you open up a bag of potato chips in space. This is how so you clip your fingernails in space.
Yeah, but they have to make it relatable for everybody, especially kids, watching it, things like that.
That's my problem with Neil Tyson and Neil deGrasse Tyson, all these guys. They're always like, oh, the Earth is like a grape. It's like, I'm not that dumb. You don't have to you don't have to boil it down that for me. It's unnecessary.
The grape's got a hole in its skin, and that means that we're all going to die.
Yeah, so start charging carbon credits, everybody.
Yep.
No, I'm not going to get into that.
But anyways, if we just press the grape into juice, it'll ferment into wine, then we're really having a good time.
That's right. That's a great idea. We're going to take that into consideration. No, but the astronauts are always giddy. That's what this guy had a problem with. He's like, this is seriously dangerous. One piece of space debris. They're flying. Have you seen the speed? You should look up the speed that the International Space Station travels at. It's ridiculous. It's faster than a bullet.
The other thing, though,
it's going faster than a bullet. And they're saying that if a piece of micro debris hits the hull of this thing, you could puncture a hole, depressurize the thing, and kill everybody on board super easy. There's not a whole lot of airlocks between the capsules and stuff. So, if a problem happens somewhere, wow, it happens everywhere.
The International Space Station goes 4.76 miles per second.
faster than a speeding bullet.
Almost 5 miles per second.
Yep. That's another reason why I'm just like, this is bullshit. I don't know.
That is incredible.
And then it's like the Earth is spinning at another bajillion miles an hour, and then we're all hurtling through space at a quadrillion miles. I don't know. It's just like, I think they use numbers that are so big that it baffles the common guy into being like, yeah, they must be true. I don't know. I just saw Adam Savage from the Mythbusters posted a picture of Jupiter and the moon of what is it, Io or whatever, or Titan. I don't know. I can't remember which moon.
Sure, let's go with
whatever.
Titan. That's a moon.
Anyways, he shows a picture. It's like obviously an airbrushed fake ass image. There's another guy that does a great video series where it's called Painting or Picture, and like every picture of the Earth he shows you is all paintings and all CGI and total garbage. And the reason there being is we talked about that in the last episode. The continents and stuff, North America, they got to come up with one size and stick with it, because North America is either this big or it's like this big. Africa is the whole globe in that 1960s. It's like, is Africa the entire planet? I don't think so. Anyways, so the astronauts are always giddy, which is total garbage because they are super prone to dying at just about any time.
Well, I don't know. I think that's
it's a life or death kind of deal.
That's the most fun ever, to be able to report back to Earth, I'm guessing, for an astronaut. Especially, we went to when we were kids, for example, we went to that Bell Museum where they had like a live connection with the ISS. And we, certain people, it was all like pre-scripted and everything, but certain kids got to ask their questions to the astronauts, who once again seemed like they were having a pretty good time up there. But it's the first time they're probably not having to do experiments and things like that, and they can kind of, hang out a little bit and talk to people on Earth. It's got to be a little bit of a connection type thing.
They're always like really dumb, like stupid.
Well, they were,
trivial.
They've studied the reproductive systems of like mice and stuff like that in space. They've studied different plants in space. They've studied, definitely a lot of different physical traits, like, the loss of muscle in space and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things that they've looked at, and I'm sure they've got a lot. I mean, just because we don't see it doesn't mean that there isn't really cool things happening up there. But once again, how did the cell structure of a dandelion divide in space doesn't sound too appealing over a camera, back to Earth. So that's why they're flipping potato chips around.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Here's I might be skipping ahead here, but one of the things I saw last night in another documentary somebody had put together was like, there's European National Space Agency, ENSA is the European National Space Agency or whatever. They have some videos up of them in the International Space Station, like showing you a tour and stuff.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, here's our special water bottle. And it's got a special straw coming out of it with like a little thing on there. And, you open it carefully, because if water gets out, it could destroy all this sensitive electronic equipment that we have in here. And then the next 20 minutes is like them throwing water and wringing out rags. And this one chick goes like that, and it just launches water all over the site. There's like wires and computers and shit all over the place. And they're just like winging water. That totally is dumb.
Well, the best one that I saw, it wasn't even recently, it was months ago, but it was a whole video where there's, once again, the perm-haired astronaut lady, and she's going to show us the tour of the ISS.
Is that, that's the dark-haired lady?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one that did the longest tour in the ISS.
Yeah, so she's going around between compartments, and hey, look at this, and look at that, and we're in this other thing here, and this is what this thing does. And the whole time this guy's pointing out, he's like, there's no airlock there. There's no airlock to the new pod. There's no airlock to the next pod. There's no airlocks ever in the ISS. So if one part failed, the entire thing has a catastrophic decompressurization or whatever. And
decompression, yeah.
Yeah, decompression or depressurization. There you go.
It's called explosive decompression.
Yeah, there you go. And it kills all the astronauts, and you basically ruin your how expensive? $150 billion.
$150 billion, I think, is the
dollar space station.
I did see that same documentary, and again, I'm here for the truth, so I'm not going to just like completely subscribe to anything I hear or whatever. I did see airlocks, okay, in one of the other videos I was seeing. So it's not in every capsule, in every section for sure, but there are sections with
for a lot
airlocks.
of sections there are no airlocks.
Yeah, I think it's every finger coming off of the thing. I think at the where it joints to the main body of the thing is where they have airlocks. So if you're in one of the 3 modules that make up one of the fingers that come off the side of the thing, you might be screwed. You know.
Yeah.
They have one command center area where she even, I think in that video, says like, oh, if poo hits the fan, we all meet up in this room and sort out the problem and try to figure out how to deal with either like some kind of gas situation where they have like a coolant or something leaking in there and it could potentially choke them all out or something, or they lose pressurization, or
somebody's flinging water again.
Flinging water, yeah, intentionally, dumbasses. But it's like how that it looks convoluted to get through there, and if there was a big problem, man, I wouldn't want to depend on one room someplace in the place to be able to figure all that out.
Yeah, especially if you're on the farthest spot of the station.
What if the rock went through that wall? Like,
yeah,
you guys are screwed.
Well, is there any like escape pods or anything like that?
They have one Soyuz. Guess how many people can fit in there?
Like 3.
I think it's 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
I know for sure 2, but maybe 3.
Yeah, if you cram them in there.
No, you can't. There's like 8 people on the freaking ISS, and there's one escape pod. I think there could be 2, but every picture I've ever seen only has one on there.
You just leave the Russians there. They've been drinking since they got up there. They probably don't care anymore. But the U.S. got to bring them back. Oh, wait a second. The Russians are flying us up there. We got to have them to. Oh wait, yeah, their shuttle wouldn't be there either. So.
Well, the Russians are the only ones that like have their shit together.
Yeah,
right
they're
now,
the only ones flying people up, I'm guessing. Or
Yep.
Does China even have any sort of program put together for?
Last I heard, China sent a rover to the moon. I don't know. I think there's a Japanese dude on the ISS, but I don't know if there's Chinese representatives. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be like racist or anything, but I don't know if there's a Chinese dude. Might not have been the best way to put that. They're not
China is not the issue here, dude.
Big Lebowski reference. No, but I'm sure China's got to be a part of it. But I have seen representatives from Japan. I think I said India in the last broadcast. I'm not sure if that's true. We'll have to check that out. Could you do some of this research in the background here, buddy? Because it would really make me look a lot less like an idiot. While he's doing that, though, movements that translate to the hull of the ship. This is another issue that these guys have. They show on one of the things, that same black-haired lady, she shows the exercise equipment. She shows
I'm sorry, but it's really funny to type in, does India have a space program? Because all I can think of is like, I'm sorry, thank you for calling the India hotline for space.
Killing it, dude.
Sorry, but just like if India had like the telemarketer.
I gotta do my David Letterman paper shuffle here to get through that joke. Okay. No, but movements that translate to the hull of the space station. So that lady that does the goofy hair and all that stuff, one of the 2 goofy hair ladies, this would be the darker haired lady, the one that did the longest space stay up at the longest stay in the ISS. She shows a piece of exercise equipment that is detached from the wall a certain way, so that when you use it, it's like a big bike thing. Once you use it, it doesn't like shake the crap. If you pushed on the walls, it would like shake the solar panels and crap. So like they can't do that stuff or it'll wreck the expensive equipment all over the place. But the problem there is nothing else they do is like grounded to the ship like that, where it's like they're all like whipping through there. There's a shot of Chris Hadfield where he just like Superman shoots and then just nails the back wall of the thing. That would like shake all the antennas and crap up there. That like this thing ain't built that well. They have to take one little tiny piece up at a time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think obviously the design thing to take a little bit of abuse, but yeah, you shouldn't be just like purposefully bouncing off the thing like crazy. In other news, ironically enough, the first article, and that's why I was laughing so hard. I'm sorry for losing it, everybody, but I got composure back. But I was laughing because I didn't know if India had an official space program. But the first article I pull up is titled "India's Impressive Space Program." So what makes it so impressive right now?
Is it real?
They recently sent what is it? Is it a satellite or what is it? An orbiter. So they sent an orbiter to Mars, and it successfully entered the Martian orbit. See here. Oh, they became the first country to enter Mars orbit in its first attempt. So
Damn.
that was the other big
Hats
deal.
off to India, dude. They got that shit figured out.
And then also the first Asian country to reach the red planet, which is also another big deal for those guys.
Nice.
I guess because, probably across Asia, you've got, look at all the technical superpowers. You got China, Japan, India, all these guys that are mass electronics. Thinking that's not,
I just thought of something else that's hilarious too.
Oh,
But
sorry.
that's
I
equally funny.
was going to say that wasn't meant to be racist, but they have a really good setup over there. We are just losing it, buddy. This is great.
We'll keep it together.
But
oh, go ahead.
oh, in summation, India apparently has a once again. Let me show this to the camera so they can see it. But not just any space program, but an impressive space program.
Nice. Dude, I love how this camera autofocuses, but we're not going to sit here and drill over technology. Okay.
Nope.
So moving on to the next point: waste, bodily fluids, showers, laundry, septic systems. Showers, laundry, septic, they do not have. So you're telling me, and NASA's telling me that these women are up on that space station for, I think that lady was up there for 160 days or something like that. She was up there for 160 days, and she didn't stink like hell. And I think Jeranism or another one of these guys said most women would just shave their head bald if they had to be up there without a shower that long. There's no way you could convince any woman to be up there that long without taking a shower. It's ridiculous.
Well,
and then she says, which is total bullshit. She goes, she's interviewed after the fact, and she goes, yeah, I asked the next crew coming in, do I stink? And they're like, no, you smell good. So either, or not good, but you don't smell at all, or whatever. So either those people were extremely kind, or this is bullshit.
I was gonna say, because what does the space station smell like? It's gotta just be like the worst gym locker.
That's a question I would totally ask Chris Hadfield. Like one of those kind of questions. Like, what does it smell like up there?
It clearly can't smell like a freshly laundered. Although they
kind of
do
smells
have
like the inside of a 747.
That's
I guess.
actually a really good point because they have carbon filters on the ISS, and carbon filters also filter out smell and stuff like that. So it's conceivable that the astronauts do stink, but the space station isn't smelly because of those. Carbon.
Can we rewind that and seriously say that's your theory that the space station cleans the astronauts?
No, I'm not saying that it cleans the astronauts. I'm saying that we're saying that what does the space station smell like? And I'm saying if it has carbon filters, it won't smell as bad as if it's just like a compressed astronaut soup in there.
I guess. I don't know.
By the way,
whatever.
Another thing.
No, hold on. Before I have to finish this point,
Okay.
There's a video of this guy that works for NASA that says, "I've got a machine that cleans the urine so that you turn it into drinking water." And he does it, and he pours it in. And he starts drinking. He's like, "That's it." It's just like piss. Just like piss. It's completely piss flavored.
That's terrible.
And it totally doesn't work. You can pull that video up too. God.
Bear Grylls trains all the astronauts. That's amazing.
I'm gonna cry halfway through this thing.
This is awesome. But the ISS, we're playing a video right now. We'll have Chris put it on the screen. Magic. There you go. And it's been really not accurate or whatever, but it's been very realistic looking. So I don't know, man. It doesn't look like I haven't seen any bubbles yet or anything like that. There is some bend in the GoPro camera, but
it's because
not enough to account. It's bending first of all to counter your theory. It's bending against the curvature of the Earth because the bend's happening on the lens. It's not happening on the Earth as much. So that's a total dead ringer for the fact that your theory is completely bunk on the flat Earth.
So you're saying that that's not a model in front of a CGI image, a composite of two different things on top of each other, which is exactly how I would do that shot?
Well, it's interesting, too, that they're looking right at the sun. That's kind of a weird... Why wouldn't you have the sun pointing on the space station instead of this?
It actually looks like they got their shadows correct on this one, because most of the time the sun will be over here and the shadow will be on the sun's side or vice versa or whatever.
I'm not sure if you guys can see the cursor here, but there's this R2-D2 style little spinny radar dish thing, and that just looks so fake right now. What is that looking for, and why is it spinning so fast? What's the point there?
It's Major
I'm sure,
to ground
I
control.
can't
I'm
wait till
sure.
we get the comment on that. That's actually the flux capacitor.
My dad
It's
invented
what
that.
cleans the astronauts' piss into drinking water. That's
First
like
snort on the air.
you hear about those like the porta potty salesmen that like they have that blue liquid that goes in the bottom of like all the porta potties, and the salesman supposedly supposed to drink it to prove like how safe it is. It's like, man, you guys must just burn through employees that way. The first day I'd get into work, you mean I have to drink what? What just happened?
$9 an hour plus. No, I'm not. Absolutely.
That
not.
is the definition of a excrement job, because we're not going to swear on the air here.
Oh, Matt, we have a problem.
What's up?
We've hit the end of the half hour.
Oh, this has been already too exciting. So that's
This was
great.
a fantastic episode. I don't know. I had a lot of fun. I think this was a blast. I don't know if we got much accomplished here.
We laughed through most of it, but
yeah, don't judge us. This is
sharing is
episode
caring.
1. This is, technically episode 2, because we did the pilot last night. This is the first episode. I don't know. I had a great time with you again,
I
Matt.
had a
Thank you for coming on the
fantastic
show. Well, I'm going to make a note here, and we'll come back. The next point I have to make here is the Freemason connection. So this is some exciting stuff. That'll be my hook to bring you back.
Wow, where did Freemasons come from?
Oh,
this story just gets better and better, Chris.
I have a lot, including pictures of astronauts with Freemason rings on, Buzz
We
Aldrin,
have
all
to
these
do that.
guys.
There's like this thing too, where like every time they switch leadership in the ISS,
You saw that
there's-
stuff too?
Yeah. So we
Nice.
have to watch that too.
Yep.
That's the Mason like
They got
hand
their
signal
hand
thing.
signals and like the triangle and stuff, and all that stuff. Okay,
so all coming up next
Yeah.
on the next episode here. So in the future, you'll just be able to click next, and it's gonna be great.
yeah, for the fans, it's easy as crap. Now I got to edit this whole thing. I got a lot of work ahead of me.
But through the magic of editing and television,
It's a labor of love, I tell you.
finished episode.
I already love this show, and I love having you on here. Space Erased, the NASA
Erased.
broadcast. I'm going to play us out here. Do you have anything you want to add here before we go?
If you enjoyed the program, like and subscribe. And once again, you can find us at our Gmail account, which is...
NASA Fraudcast at gmail.com.
That's what it is, nasafraudcast@gmail.com. This has been Matt and Chris with Space Erased. Till next time.
Please remember to like and subscribe. Our channel is called the NASA Fraudcast channel, so
Check it out.
check it out. We love you guys. See you next week.
We doing another handshake?